Hi, I'm Bradley.
And I'm Brendan.
And on today's episode of Story Proof, we're talking about the Banshees of Inisherin.
I can feel the I can feel the irritation coming off.
I'm going to go ahead and be very upfront about this. I do not like this movie.
Which is really shocking to me because when I suggested this movie, I really thought you would enjoy it a lot more than you actually ended up doing because you love like black comedy
and I love the two main leads in this.
Yeah.
I fucking love these guys. This movie just doesn't do it for me, man.
I get it. It's definitely one of those movies that's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, and what sucks is usually I'm on the good side of that.
Yeah.
Very often when someone says this movie is maybe an acquired taste or something, I'm like, really? I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not this one.
That's, again, one of the main reasons I'm really surprised. Like, we've talked a little bit about it here right before we started recording, and, like...
We didn't talk about it. I bitched about it for 15 minutes.
I'm just so surprised. I really thought that you would enjoy this. But, yeah, I rewatched it in preparation for this episode, and I remembered liking it a lot more the first time I watched it because I watched this around the same time that it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Because I try to make an effort of watching all the Best Picture nominees every year. And I remember liking it a lot more. It's definitely kind of fallen off a little bit for me on the second watch just because I noticed more of the problems.
Yeah.
This time, especially like tone-wise and stuff like that. And I know you've got some issues with that as well. But I don't know. I definitely enjoy this movie more than you. It's not as high for me. It's very funny to me, especially because I always loved Brendan Gleeson. Like anything Brendan Gleeson's in, I've loved it. Dude's phenomenal. Colin Farrell has been more of an acquired taste for me over the years. I used to not very much like him as an actor, but around the time that Seven Psychopaths came out back in 2011, 2012, that was when everything started to kind of turn for me with Colin Farrell. And then he was in like Saving Mr. Banks and Banshees and
the Batman.
Like that's gonna be one we'll have to talk about on this eventually.
Yeah,
the Batman, because that is so good. But yeah,
see, I've always really liked Colin Farrell. I feel like I really liked. I'm not gonna lie, I really liked the movie Alexander, and I feel like that's the one that he got the most shit for, and I feel like that's where the like general dislike of Colin Farrell came from.
He kind of had that double whammy of Daredevil and Alexander within like a year or so of each other, because Daredevil was like 2003, Alexander was 2004. I don't think he was the main problem with Alexander. I think Alexander was just
too busy being a perfect movie to... That's not true. No. That's not true at all.
Alexander was...
It was a hot mess in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think the weirdest thing was Angelina Jolie being his mom. I'm like, okay, age-wise, I have questions. But, no,
we're not here to talk about Alexander.
I have never really disliked Colin Farrell. To be honest, SWAT, the movie, not the TV show, is honestly one of my favorite. I fucking love that movie. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Samuel L. Jackson, always a good time.
Of course. Anytime Samuel L. Jackson's in a movie, you got to check it out.
But I genuinely enjoy that movie. I've always enjoyed him. You know, I will say one thing positive about this movie. I don't think there's a bad performance in this movie.
No.
I definitely think everyone is doing a really good job. There's a lot of talent in this cast. A lot of the music, ironically, caused a lot of my issues with this, but I think the music itself is very good. A lot of it's very beautiful.
It's very Celtic, which makes sense because this is Ireland, so you're going to have a lot of that influence in the score.
But yeah, dude, the fucking tone of this movie just bothered me the entire runtime of this movie, where you have scenes that are not fucking funny. They are very serious, very dramatic, and you've got this fucking whimsical, jaunty music going on. Or there are times where you have two characters talking, and it's literally like one of them is in a drama and one of them is in a comedy. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? The biting off the fingers thing is funny, but you're just like, what the fuck? The donkey choking to death on one. I'm like, what the fuck? The fact I saw a dude's dick and then the guy talks about his dad's dick. I'm like, really? This is I will say, because of that scene though, so when I started watching this, I tend to watch most of my movies with subtitles anyway. I just literally, ever since the Fellowship of the Ring, when Gandalf falls and says, "Fly, you fools," back in my VCR days, it bothered me that I could not tell what he said. So I figured out how to turn on closed captions on a VCR, which already makes me the greatest electrical engineer that's ever fucking lived. And I have been watching movies with subtitles ever since, because
Yeah.
I like to know definitively what is being said. Also, quick thing about subtitles, my favorite thing is when you have subtitles for music. I will always remember in the movie The Intern, there's one where the subtitles just say funky heist music. It's my favorite subtitle ever.
Yeah.
Just love that. But this one, when I first started watching it, I was watching it on my TV, which the thing I was using didn't allow subtitles. I got up to the end of that scene where Colin Farrell and the young boy are talking. I'm like, fuck me, I've got to watch this with subtitles. I can't understand a fucking word these people are saying.
It's very Irish.
It is so fucking Irish. Yeah, I just could not understand like anything that they were saying.
Yeah. I know there was some criticism when the movie first came out that maybe it was a bit too stereotypically Irish.
That's fair.
I can't speak to that one way or another because I'm not Irish.
And see, that was one thing that I mentioned to you about this movie is there are so many things that when I was looking into, because I'm not gonna lie, I was looking into like,
Yeah.
why the fuck do people like this movie?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about this movie that everyone was just raving about? This got nominated for a fucking Oscar for Best Picture, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? So I was like reading up some stuff, reading up on the movie and looking into people's stuff about it. First off, don't ever do that. People get way. I was joking before we started. I was like, literally, a movie will end where it's like an explosion, the good guys win, yay, and people will write a fucking dissertation explaining the ending of the movie, and I'm like, dude, if I watch a movie and I have to extrapolate a dissertation from it to understand it, I'm like, this is a garbage movie, and I don't want to do that. That is way too fucking much for me. Granted, most movies aren't that way. People just come up with bullshit because when people try to critique or review the arts, I think it's dumb. I think you can say what it is for you, but when you try to explain a way, it's, I don't know. It's almost like when you see the thing about the poet writes "the wall is blue," and like a high school English teacher will give you a 30,000-mile long fucking scroll of dissertation of what it means. Really, it means the author is like, the wall is fucking blue. I was describing to you that the wall is blue.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. There's definitely, how should I put this? There's text, there's subtext, and then there's supertext. And then there's people who are deep diving into things to create content for themselves that become too involved necessarily. And I'm not going to say that I'm, immune from doing that from time to time. I am like the film nerd and everything else. There's finding what the filmmaker is trying to say, and then there's reading into what you want the filmmaker to be saying.
That's
if
fair.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This one, when I was looking into it, because I thought about it when you said the Irish thing, a lot of people were talking about how, like, this character represents this side of the Civil War, and this one represents this one, and, I don't know enough about that, because I'm definitely not Irish.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff, I was like, fuck, maybe if I knew this type of stuff, would it have made more sense to me? Would I have enjoyed it more? But not necessarily, because you enjoyed it, and you said you didn't really know as much about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I didn't even really understand like what war they were referring to when they, throughout the movie you hear like the shots going off from the mainland because this takes place on an island off the coast.
Yeah.
Called Inisherin, and so I did go through when I first watched the movie a couple of years ago, and I looked it up to see like, okay, what exactly is the context going on here? And it's a civil war that came about in the 1920s split apart and are fighting each other because now they have their own ideas of what they want that freedom and independence to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's aspects of that can be read into in the splitting of Culm and Podrick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, and again, I'm not Irish. You're not Irish. Somebody who's from Ireland um, probably sees this movie in a very different way than either of us do because they have that knowledge and that history.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie, it just never clicked for me.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people online talking about it being satirical and it being not as straightforward of a movie. I don't know, man. It just didn't do it for me. The biggest issue I had easily was the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
Where I just could never freaking find out what what they were going for. Because again, you've just got these moments where it's moments of levity where it's pretty funny and it's this dramatic, foreboding almost music, and then you've got the polar opposite when stuff is not fucking funny. Because there is some pretty serious stuff in this. You know, it tackles some pretty serious subject matter.
Yeah, it goes pretty dark.
But some of it does in such a ridiculous way that I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like I don't know. It kills me.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that when it ended, I just kind of sat here for a few minutes, just sort of fuming, if I'm honest. I'm just being like, why did I not enjoy this?
Yeah.
To be honest, I do not tend to not enjoy movies.
Yeah, you definitely are a lot easier when it comes to like judging and enjoying movies than even I am.
Yeah.
So to speak.
I almost cannot remember the last time that I finished a movie and was like, I either did not like that or I did not enjoy that.
Yeah.
This one I did not enjoy. Like literally, I can only actively think of maybe 3. La La Land is one of them.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say La La Land.
I hate that stupid ass movie. Like maybe 2 or 3 movies that I've watched, and at the end I'm just like, I don't think I'll ever watch that again. This movie, I have a feeling that maybe like a few years from now, I will, for whatever reason, just be like, I'll give it another try, and then I'll watch it, and maybe it clicks, maybe I like it. You know, I feel like a lot of us have done that where you kind of reevaluate. I have gone back and rewatched Godzilla vs. Biollante. It is every bit as good as people make it out to be. It really is. It is now within like my top 5 favorite Godzilla movies.
And you used to not like that one.
Yep, I didn't. I just like glossed over it.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember liking it or disliking it. It was just whatever, and I kept going.
Yeah.
So that happens. Yeah, maybe something will just click.
Maybe not. I mean, ultimately, what if we've said it before in previous episodes, art is subjective to an extent. Like there are some things that are definitively just bad when it comes to art. But for the most part, it's just down to people's preferences, whether it clicks or it doesn't click, or if that's what it is. There's nothing wrong with that either way.
Yeah.
For instance, I really enjoy La La Land. You despise La La Land.
That's because one of us is right.
There's no right or wrong, Bradley.
I have facts that say otherwise. That's a bad movie. It's bad. Anyway.
So I guess let's just go ahead and sort of dive in. I don't know that we need to go like necessarily plot point by plot point with this one, but
if you do, it's gonna make no fucking sense.
Yeah.
I will say that when I first started watching it, I was very interested with the idea of it is almost like a friend breaking up with a friend.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often.
Yeah, and it's just sort of an out of the blue thing.
Yeah.
It's just they were just in the pub yesterday.
Yeah, literally their first conversation about being like, I don't, what is it? He doesn't, like, I don't enjoy you, or?
Yeah, I just don't find you interesting.
Yeah, I don't find you interesting anymore. And he's like, you did yesterday.
Yeah. We were just in the pub yesterday. What do you want?
Yeah, and these dudes, they go to the pub like every day. It seems like they're almost the attached at the hip kind of friends.
Yeah, it's just right at like 2:00 every day. They show up at the pub. The bartender's already got their drinks ready. It's
yeah.
Just like...
And it really, I was immediately like, okay, I think I know what I'm in store for. I was so fucking wrong.
You thought you were just gonna get a story about how these two friends find some common ground again and come back together.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
that is not what this movie.
That is fucking not at all what this movie is, and you know it. Fuck me. It does so many things where it's like we want to really deal with this serious issue and this serious issue and this and this and this and this. And personally, I feel like they overreached a bit. I feel like there's a little bit too much of the different big ideas going on when really it could just boil down to this. And then I think maybe even adding on maybe some of the mental and emotional issues that are going on with Brandon Gleeson's character. The idea of one day you just wake up and your best friend isn't your best friend anymore. I think that's a very interesting idea. It's fucking sad, but I think it's a very interesting idea. And then there were so many other things that are on top of it. I was like, this is the one I really wanted.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. The young boy and his story, I didn't need that.
Yeah.
Even beyond the joke of seeing the naked dude, I really just don't think I needed that. The biting off the fingers thing, I just don't think I needed that.
Well,
I think if you had focused on like those two things, like the mental state and emotional state of these two friends as they have split suddenly, and then they have moments of kind of coming back together and pulling away from each other, I think that would have made a obviously very different movie. But that would have been one I would have been much more inclined to enjoy, even with the tonal issues.
I get that. So the main reason that Brendan Gleeson's character Colm wakes up one day and finds Podrick uninteresting anymore, I guess it's part of a sort of looming mortality thing for him in some ways. I don't know. He just wakes up, finds him uninteresting, and says, "We don't talk about anything interesting. We don't do anything interesting. All I hear you talk about are your cows and your donkey and your animals and all that," because he's a farmer on this little island.
Yeah, that's what kills me is the idea we won't talk about anything interesting. Bitch, we live on a fucking rock in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I think that's kind of the point is, like, what do you want, Colm? You live on this island with the same 200 people. He fancies himself this musician, this great composer on the level of Mozart and stuff like that. He wants to be remembered for being something.
Yeah.
And he wants a legacy. And I get, to an extent, I get where he's coming from in that respect, because what do we leave behind us when we're gone is a thing that a lot of people think about and discuss. Like, what is it that we leave in terms of a legacy? I get where he's coming from with that, but at the same time, then he goes on and he proceeds to mutilate himself in a way that would basically prevent him from doing the very thing that he proclaims that he wants to do.
Yeah. Because what a great character choice that is. This movie's fucking weird. I will say the scene of him, it's pretty early on, of him playing violin / fiddle in the pub. It is the laziest way I've ever seen. So it's like, I don't even think he's got it on his shoulder. I'm pretty sure he's resting the instrument on his belly, and he's playing, and it's so fucking funny.
I can't speak to that. I know Brendan Gleeson is actually a fairly accomplished fiddle player.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what he's playing, I'm like sounds good.
Yeah, but it is kind of funny just to see. You usually think of the violin being up on the shoulder and the chin.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can play it. It just looks funny.
Yeah.
It just looks funny.
Says the musician
Hey man, I've seen people play it like a guitar. That looks even weirder.
Yeah, that seems weird to me.
Yeah, but to each their own.
Yeah.
One thing I will say as well, if you haven't seen this movie and maybe you're not familiar when we're saying like Brandon Gleeson, not a young man.
No.
So the idea of him being bored with life on this island, I feel like that would maybe make more sense if he were in his 20s. And he's like, I want to go explore. I want to go do something. But him being an old ass dude who's not old ass, he's up there.
He's probably in his 60s.
Yeah. I think that to me hits a little stranger that all of a sudden he just wakes up and is like, nope.
I don't know. I guess you could make an argument, like even at the beginning when they sort of have that meeting of, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to know you. Podrick, Colin Farrell's character, does ask him, like, are you sick or something? Like,
yeah.
Are you about to die? Like, what are you so worried about this?
Yeah.
And I guess him being older, yeah, he would have sort of that sort of ticking time clock of, okay, my time is getting shorter, so I need to accomplish these things I want to accomplish.
Well, maybe don't bite your fucking fingers off, dude.
That's the tragic part of it.
That's the something. Fucking hate this movie. I'm just gonna be snippy the whole time.
I can tell. We're gonna catch every little bit of you saying I hate this movie under your breath.
Dude, I will say there's a very funny thing early on where when Colin Farrell goes to visit him and he says something about, oh, he was smoking, and he goes and talks to his sister.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, did you see him? Ah, he was smoking. Ah, was he sleeping? Well, fucking hell, he couldn't be smoking if he was sleeping, was he?
There's a lot of really kind of fun stuff between Colin Farrell and Carrie Condon, the sister. There's a lot of really good stuff there. I really like Carrie Condon's character.
I will say that was the first line that got like a genuine laugh out of me.
Yeah.
And I really like when, God, I don't know any of the characters' names. I didn't. The young boy, when he just fucking finds the stick with the hook.
Yeah.
When you first see him, you're like, oh, he's a fisherman. Because he's like examining it, you're like, oh, and then he immediately is like, hey, I found this cool stick. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. I really misread that situation.
Yeah, I think his name is Dominic. He's played by Barry Cohen from like Eternals.
And see, that's the one thing I know him from, but I have heard so many people speak so highly of him in other roles.
Yeah.
That he's one of the people on my list. I was like, I need to watch more of his stuff.
Yeah, I know. He's very well regarded. I can't remember. I think he might have gotten a supporting actor nomination for this movie. I know Farrell and Gleeson both got actor nominations for it too.
Interesting. Gleeson can accept it with his nubby little hand.
He didn't actually cut
I know.
his fingers off.
I know.
But yeah, so Brendan Gleeson, going back to it, he's very well known. He's been in a ton of things. The thing I think of him most primarily is going to be Harry Potter. He plays Alistair Moody.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I think of Lake Placid. He plays the cop.
Oh, I'm triple disappointed in you. Braveheart.
Yeah. Braveheart.
What the fuck? How is that not your he's the best character in that movie.
It's been a long time since I've watched it.
What the fuck? We're doing Braveheart next. You want to talk about good fucking movies? We're doing fucking Braveheart next. That's one where the music always sets the tone perfectly.
Don't promise that, because it's not on the list of stuff that
I'm rewriting the list. Pray I do not rewrite it.
We will probably do Braveheart eventually.
Dude, Braveheart's one of my favorite fucking movies. God, I fucking love Braveheart so much.
Yeah,
that's always the one that I think of.
I know that's probably, if we did, I know we did our top 10s, if we did like our next 5 or whatever, Braveheart would probably be right there on your...
Dude, honestly, if I had to rate them right now that I've thought about it, I'd like Braveheart would be in the top 10.
Really?
I'm telling you, dude, that like 4 through 10, it's such a where I am in the week depends on. There's like 50 movies I could choose from that any of them
Yeah.
could be in there at that time.
I agree. I was just saying to myself earlier this week, like there's about 3 or 4 films that probably would be in my top 10 now that wouldn't have been back when we recorded that episode.
Yeah.
But I even said during the recording of my particular top 10, like it could easily be that something will be in there next week that wouldn't have been in here now.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, we are getting off track with this movie.
Damn, Harry Potter's the first thing you think of, really? I would have done Braveheart, then probably 28 Days Later.
Mm.
Those are like my first two I think of.
I think of him because he's Alistair Moody. He's a fun character in the movies.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then I think of Lake Placid because I used to watch that a lot as a kid.
You know what? I get that.
Yeah. And it's just wild to me to see Brendan Gleeson.
I was like, I usually forget that he's in it.
Like I know everybody thinks of like Oliver Platt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the movie, and Bill Pullman, but Brendan Gleeson comes to mind for me on that.
God,
one too.
Those are two very large dudes as well.
Yeah.
I mean that in like a good way, not like being mean. I mean shit. Oliver Platt's I think as tall as I am. To the best of my knowledge, I feel like they're pretty good friends in real life.
Oh,
Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson.
They are. They've been in
a number of movies together.
They've been in a number of movies together. The director of this one, Martin McDonagh, actually did In Bruges with both of them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen In Bruges.
Heard good things.
I've heard good things about it.
And I will say that they play off of each other really well.
Yeah.
They do. When they have their moments of like you get to see the friendship come out, it is very sweet.
Yeah, and there are a few moments where you really get to see so these guys do kind of like Colm does still care for Podrick even though he says that he doesn't and he doesn't want to know him anymore.
Yeah.
I think of the moment where they go to the market and he's confronted by the cop, the father of Dominic.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't say a word to him, but he drives him back to their side of the island towards the house, and then just sort of splits off.
Yeah.
From him again without saying a word, because Podrick just persistently keeps trying to get Colm to talk to him throughout the first like third of this movie.
I feel like that's fucking fair though.
Yeah.
Like, I get there's the certain level of, you want to respect your friend's wishes, but also your, like, best friend of however long one day is just like, no. I'd be like, yo, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, honestly, if you just went cold on me one day.
That shit would be weird.
Yeah, I would be like, what happened? What did I do?
Dude, I freaking love when, like, in the beginning, people are like, are you fighting? I don't think we're fighting. Are you fighting? I don't think we're fighting. Are you fighting? I don't think we're fighting.
Are you bound? I don't know.
Yeah, and then
so.
he talks to him and was like, I love his like initial apology. He's like, if I did something, I'm sorry. If I said something, I'm sorry. If I said something when I was drunk that I don't remember, I'm sorry. Like, he prepared a fucking apology for every possible thing he could have done.
You know how I get when I'm drunk.
That was very funny.
But eventually it comes to a head. Like, he just tells him, hey, I don't find you interesting anymore. Please don't talk to me. And then eventually, for a time, Podrick does stop talking to him, but then Podrick finally just can't help himself. And
Can't imagine why.
And he goes to Colm, and he talks to him, and then Colm gives him an ultimatum and says, I will cut off a finger every time you talk to me from here on out. Like, and
that's such a weirdly. I'd be like, I'm gonna punch you if you talk to me again.
I guess it's to an extent I can understand where it's coming from because he's trying to go so extreme that Podrick will get the message that, hey, I don't want you talking to me anymore. Please don't talk to me anymore. So if you care about me, you will not make me cut off one of my fingers. If somebody said that to me, yeah, I'd probably not go talk to them again.
I don't know. I'm petty. I'd be like, hold your hand out. I'll cut them off for you. I'm petty as hell.
And again, for a while, Podrick does respect those wishes until this isn't when he gets drunk. It is when he gets drunk. He gets drunk in the pub one night, and he gets pissed off because Colm is buddying up to cop
mm-hmm.
who is Dominic's father.
Who, by the way, we haven't really mentioned yet, is abusing his son.
Yeah, like physically abusing.
Yeah, and it's with the size of the island and the village, it's known. It's not particularly a hidden thing.
Yeah.
People are aware of it.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Which makes it even worse. And Colin Farrell's character Podrick has made a sort of, don't want to say friendship necessarily.
Yeah,
with Dominic.
their like relationship with each other is a little weird because it's kind of friends, but it's also sometimes almost maybe brothery.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe even a little towards a parental type thing.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's kind of a mixed thing because, Dominic is obviously kind of, he's affected by the abuse from his father. He's a little off kilter.
Yeah.
As a character.
Yeah, and they do have lines about him. He's very socially awkward.
Yeah.
He's no one will date him.
He's constantly trying to hit on basically any woman that he can.
He's so horny. God bless him.
Honestly, I wonder if part of that is the character thinking like, okay, if I can get with a woman, if I can eventually like have a relationship, get married, maybe that'll get me away from my father.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's kind of an aspect of where the character's coming from.
That's fair. I thought of it more of just like validation of
also,
if I can find someone to love me, clearly I'm not broken.
Yeah.
That's
that
fucking hits a little close to home. But I will say the really funny thing with the beginning of when he comes in the pub and the guy's like, no, you're banned until April. And he's like, yeah, but I'm good now. He's like, what? When is it? It's April. Oh, you want a drink? See, that's another thing. Like, especially the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And that really is where I'm like, okay, I get. To me, it almost seems like when you watch trailers for horror movies.
Yeah.
And the first 60% does not look like a horror movie.
That's fair.
And then one thing, and you're like, oh, we're going in that direction now.
Yeah.
This movie fucking had that. Where it was really funny for the first maybe 10-ish minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's not. And then it just kind of whiplashes all over the place for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a funny movie after those first few minutes because you're not. I mean, it has moments of levity, but a lot of it's just kind of drowned in the.
Really? That's the word you're gonna go with? Really?
I didn't even think about it, but
spoiler alert! In case you didn't know, Dominic drowns himself in this fucking movie.
Yeah, he goes and in the last scene you see him. He gives one final like plea to Carrie Condon's character, Podrick's sister, about if she might be interested in him. Maybe not now, but even when he's her age or something like that.
Yeah.
And she tries to let him down as gently as she can, and it's a heartbreaking scene in a lot of ways.
Yeah, So when I was talking about the tone of this movie, I know I've kind of been joking a lot about hating the movie. There are certain scenes in movies where Dead Poet Society is one that always comes to mind. The way that story goes, which I'm not going to spoil in case anyone hasn't seen it, at least not in this episode.
It has just a abrupt shift.
Yeah, and it kind of flavors the movie so much. Now that one, I love the movie. I adore that movie. But that one moment kind of almost flavors my feelings towards the movie. I don't watch it very often.
Yeah.
I don't watch that movie particularly often.
That's fair.
Dominic, not just dying, but drowning himself and, the way that he does it and the reasons that he does it, that one thing really just... it just puts such a downer on the whole movie that, again, even if there was a moment where that happened and I would be like, dude, I was laughing 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And now I am not enjoying this. I don't know.
I get it.
It really is just one of those things where the tone, sometimes the needle moves back and forth, and then this one, it fucking plummets.
Yeah.
And then I just don't really feel like I don't feel like you can come back from that. Dead Poet Society tries to have a bit of a, oh, Captain, my Captain, a great ending.
Yeah.
It never feels triumphant to me. it's always so almost hollow or bittersweet that it just doesn't.
But I think it's kind of supposed to be.
Yeah.
In terms of Dead Poets.
Yeah, that one I think it is. This one, when it ends, I don't feel anything good.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to though.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I know you don't.
And I'm the one who usually likes it. I'm like, the bad guys win. I'm like, fuck yeah, go Team Sith. But this isn't that. This is just like...
This is just life sucks for everybody.
Fucking right! It's fucking depressing!
Because what happens is, after...
Sorry, I have jumped us so around this movie.
You're good. This was kind of what this episode was going to be, was just kind of jumping around, because we weren't really going to be able to go, like, plot point by plot point.
Yeah.
I don't think.
And I mean, to be honest, a lot of this movie's plot could be maybe 5 to 10 bullet points.
Yeah.
And the character stuff in between is what most of the movie is, which, I mean, is good.
Yeah, there's good character work in here, in between whatever the plot is.
Yeah.
So, what happens after Calm gives the ultimatum about the fingers is they have the night where Podrick goes to the bar and gets drunk and confronts Calm and the policeman, and he tells him off a little bit about not being so sociable and stuff like that, and his sister comes in and sort of helps usher him out along with Dominic, because Dominic along with his sister is trying to kind of keep the peace between them in some ways, and trying to just kind of keep Podrick away from Calm. Dominic overhears Calm make a mention of how that was the most interesting that Podrick has ever been.
Yeah.
Him giving him the what for while he was drunk. And so the next however many days or so pass, and then Dominic drops that to Podrick, like, he said you were interesting like that, that's what he wanted. So then Podrick in his mind is like, okay, great, so that's what I'm going to go do to get him to be
get drunk and yell at him as much as possible. So, I will say real fast while I'm thinking about it, one other thing with this movie, I am a little unclear about how, like, the time span of this movie.
Yeah.
It hit me when you said, like, oh, it's sometime late. I don't think it's super important, but sometimes it was hard to tell, like, have they been fighting for, like, a day? Has it been months?
Yeah.
The weather fucking never changes on this little dreary-ass looking island.
Well,
I say dreary. It's really not that dreary.
Well, that's just...
But yeah, it's the time frame makes it a little... Because especially considering some of the drastic character changes in this, I am curious if... Because the fact that Colm has this immediate, we were friends yesterday, we're not today. Yeah. I'm kind of curious with some of these other characters if it's like that with everyone. Like, I'm here today, I'm gone tomorrow, I'm this today, I'm this tomorrow. Or if everyone else is on a slow progression and Colm's just like, nope, fuck it, click, done.
Yeah.
So, good.
But anyway, then Podrick goes to confront Colm about it and is like, okay, everything's cool now, right? Because you found me interesting again, so we can talk. And then that's kind of the final straw for Colm. He takes garden shears and he ends up cutting off his his index finger, I think.
I don't remember which one it is first.
I believe
spoiler alert, it's not the fucking last.
I believe it's his index finger. And then he comes and he takes it and he ends up throwing it right at Podrick and his sister's door at his house.
And see, that's one of those things where you're like, this is so dumb and fucking hilarious, but what the fuck movie is this? This isn't a funny movie, but this moment is hilarious, but it's so stupid. Because it's literally like, if you guys have seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that has a scene where he gets his fucking fingers cut off in a door.
Yeah.
That's literally made me think of that, and then they get eaten by a dog. And, like, it's so dumb. This is almost on that level of, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But it's funny because he and his sister are having a conversation, just kind of calm, and all of a sudden they hear the thump at the door, and they're like, "What was that? Was that a bird?" At the door. No, they see Colm walking off down the hill again, and then they look down. Oh, there's the finger. Oh, he's gone mad, hasn't he?
I feel like that's a very fair response to that. Oh, this dude came and threw one of his body parts at our door.
Yeah. And then he goes almost immediately to the pub, and he's fiddling on his fiddle, and he's got blood draining down his hand and onto his clothes and all over his fiddle and everything else. But he's hanging out with this other musician because he's composing a piece of music. That's his big thing that he's doing throughout this movie.
Yeah.
And it's just...
See, I feel like you even just said more like what I wanted is the idea of focusing on the mental state of this character.
Yeah.
Because like clearly something is going on. He is
Well,
cutting off body parts.
Well, they even go so far early in the film to say, okay, do you think he's depressed or something like that? And there's even a scene where they go to confession on a Sunday. We know that at least 2 Sundays pass because they go to confession
Twice. Yeah.
So it could just be all within the span of about a week. That's all it could be.
Jesus.
But in the first confessional, I guess Podrick's gone in there before Colm did, and Podrick's asked the priest to put in a good word for him, and it's like, I think he might be a little depressed or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the priest is like asking these probing questions to Colm, and it's not a very fun interaction between the two of them. Colm's just kind of like, that's none of your business, Father.
Yeah. And when you talk about his depression, there's a thing at the end about they're unsure if he stayed in the house while it burned.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of good moments that I would have wanted for a focus on that character, but instead I'm laughing about him fucking throwing his finger at people's doors.
Yeah, it's fair. I see where you're coming from in the sense of either go further, like don't go as far with the comedy or delve more into the dramatic. I get what you're saying.
Or maybe do one of them a bit more consistently.
Yeah.
As opposed to flip-flop, flip-flop.
Yeah.
I think that's really the tonal whiplash of it ultimately is what kind of got me.
So then I forget what happens next. They're doing the composing. They're doing...
Yeah.
And then Podrick gets this kid that he's playing the music with, and he tells him that his father's been hit by a milk cart back home.
Way to be a buzzkill there, bro.
And he was like... First he says that it's his mother.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, my mother's dead. And this is genuinely funny.
And see, that's the thing where like, it's really funny, but the dude is bleeding in front of you.
Yeah. No, this is like the day after. The dude's walking away from the bar or whatever. He comes down on his cart and is like, hey, you want to ride? And then he says, are you such and such? And the guy says, yeah. And Podrick tells him, oh, your ma died.
Yeah.
Or your ma got hit by a milk cart. They don't know if she's going to make it. That's impossible. My ma's dead. And I didn't mean your ma. I didn't mean your ma. I meant your father, your pa. He got hit by a milk cart. Oh, that's impossible. That's how my mom went. And then he's like, if it's the same cart, so help me. And that's genuinely funny. That's great. And it's just... but the reason I bring that up is that eventually goes into the final sort of straw with Colm and Podrick, because Colm finishes the piece of music, the Banshees of Inisherin, and they have a conversation about how there aren't any Banshees on Inisherin, and Colm makes a comment about how I don't think that they scream to pretend death anymore. I think they just watch us and laugh.
Yeah.
Or something like that, which is an interesting concept.
There's also one character in particular.
Yeah, there's one character in particular that shows up throughout this movie, Mrs. McCormick.
Mrs. McCormick.
She's always dressed in black. She's always kind of cryptic and just kind of watching everybody.
Isn't the last shot of the movie her?
The last shot of the movie is her sitting in the ruins of Colm's house.
And she's got the stick.
She's got the stick.
That was Dominic's earlier. Yeah. It's like a very unique, it was obviously his.
Yeah, like a fishing hook or whatever. And she's just watching over Colm. But she's there at most of the key points. She shows up at one point early on talking to Podrick's sister. And then she shows up... she's there in the town when Podrick is confronted by the cop. She's there when Dominic and the sister have that final conversation by the lake. So
Every move you make.
So, in essence, she is meant to be the banshee that's haunting Inisherin, portending death. She even gives a prophecy about how before the week is out or whatever, 2 lives will die and 2 lives will be taken on Inisherin or whatever. So,
what do you think about that?
About her being a banshee or about that specific?
Both, because you said she's watching over Colm at the end. I read online that some people think she's about to kill him.
I don't know. That is an interesting read. I don't know that I buy into that one so much. She doesn't. It doesn't seem like she's particularly malicious in her own.
Maybe not by human standards, but by banshee standards. Well, if it's 2 lives, do you think she's including animals?
Yeah, that's kind of the question. Like, is she counting Jenny the donkey? And then obviously Dominic.
Yeah. Maybe his life was so sad that it counts twice. I could see that.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little.
Well, we've already talked about the end. Well, I guess that was the end. We're jumping around. If you came here for a detailed plot summary, you have come to the wrong channel.
Yeah, everything just kind of keeps getting worse and worse for Podrick throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he loses his best friend. His best friend threatens him to, and cuts off his own finger. And then, like, his sister has been trying to find some independence for herself away from the small life in the island and away from independent of Podrick and stuff like that. So she's applied for a job on mainland Ireland in a library. So eventually she ups and leaves Podrick. She asks him to come with her to get away from Inisherin and all its messes, but he doesn't go.
He fucking should have. Bro, it is not going to go well for you.
Yeah. After the conversation between Podrick and Colm about how he's finished his piece of music, Podrick leaves because he's like, okay, now that all this is done, we can be friends again, right? You've done what you said you wanted to do. And Colm is like, yeah, I'll go meet you at the pub, 2:00, and you go on up there and do that. Or really, it's Podrick just kind of assuming like, okay,
yeah,
I'll go up to the pub, and Colm's just like, shoo. And it's...
By the way, you guys can't see it, but Brendan is waving his hands in a shoo motion while saying this, and it was funny. You were doing that the entire time. You were like, "Yeah, it's gonna, Bard too."
I'm basically embodying what I assumed Colm was like the entire time. But what is kind of simultaneously a somewhat funny yet really dark thing is that Colm has a dog.
Oh yeah.
At this moment, the dog actually grabs the shears to try to like take him away from Colm because he knows that what Colm's about to do.
Yeah.
And so he catches up to the dog, takes the shears, gives the dog a pet, leaves him outside, and then we find out shortly after that Colm's taken all of his fingers off after that conversation.
Yep.
He just went completely off the rails.
I don't know why you're looking at me like I'm going to explain something. It's fucking weird. I've said the whole time the finger thing is just so fucking strange to me.
Yeah, so at this point now, he's just mutilated himself to the point of not being able to effectively play music anymore, especially not on a fiddle. Because, you need your fingers to be able to do that.
He could, hypothetically, with some duct tape, swap sides and... No, that is... He's fucked. Learn to play trumpet, bro.
And so, at the same time, Podrick is at the bar waiting on Colm. Colm never shows up. Colm goes to the house, takes the fingers, throws them all at the door, thinking, okay, maybe Podrick's at the thing now, because it's like 2 hours later. He figures maybe Podrick's, gone back home. And at this point now, Podrick comes home, and
what does he find, Brendan?
He finds that his beloved donkey Jenny has tried to eat one of the fingers and choked on it.
I just want us to sit here for a moment and really soak in the ridiculousness of what you just said.
So, in slight defense of the moment, they have shown that she's been sort of a nibbler throughout the movie. Just nibbling things that she shouldn't be nibbling at.
Yep. Go ahead. Keep defending it. This dude yeets his fingers at a door, a donkey chokes to death on him, and you're like, this is a serious movie?
I didn't say it was a serious movie.
People die, Brendan. Jenny the donkey died.
I know, it's very sad.
I almost said for your sins. That's not it at all.
No, she died. She
died for Podrick's sins.
She died for Podrick Holmes' sins, I guess. So Podrick finds Jenny. He ultimately buries her, and this leads him to confront Colm the next day and say, on Sunday at 2 o'clock, which, 2 o'clock is when they normally have gone to go get drinks, he's going to instead burn his house to the ground.
Yep.
And he tells Colm that he should remain in it if he wants to square the debt that they've paid now. And so this is just kind of the severing of any chance of reconciliation between these two characters. Like, there's not going to be anything that can
The
fix
severing? Really? You're being very unintentionally punny today.
And so he makes good. We get the second confession scene with the priest, where he basically tells him, "Hey, you've self-mutilated. That's a sin. Like, you've done this and that and the other." He asks how the despair is, which is a callback to the first confession, because I guess Colm has been dealing with despair.
Yeah.
Which, depression?
Yeah, can't imagine why.
Yeah. So they go through that, and then at 2 o'clock, Podrick comes down. He says when he first warns Colm that he's not going to check to see if he's inside the house or not. He's just going to set fire to it. But Podrick can't help himself.
Of course he is.
He has to go check and see, and to his credit, Colm is still in the house.
Yeah.
While he's waiting for it. And, Podrick was like, "Leave your dog outside. I have no quarrel with the dog." And he takes the dog with him that night to sort of go help take care of him. Yeah, so he sets fire to Colm's house. And that night afterwards, the policeman, Dominic's father, was coming back up to, I guess, question and or arrest Podrick, because he just kind of assumes it's I mean, small island, small town, probably knows one way or the other that the threat was there.
Yeah.
So, but then this is where Miss McCormick shows up again and shows him Dominic's body in the lake.
Yeah.
Lending to the Banshee theory. And bringing about the end of that plot point. Very sadly. Yeah, nobody comes out good in this movie. Nobody. Except his sister.
I was like, his sister kind of like got off the Titanic right before it took off.
Yeah. But it's during this sort of intermittent time between when the fire gets set and when he goes back to see whether Colm actually stayed in the house or not, you actually get a little letter exchange between the sister and him, where she's like, "Leave all of the mess behind you. Come here. I've got an extra bedroom where I'm settled in at. You can stay here. You can leave all the troubles behind you." And Colin Farrell, Podrick, he responds and doesn't tell her anything about what's been going on. Like, he still acts like Jenny's still alive. She's sitting there right now, looking at me, waiting for me to feed her or whatever. And he's talking about how he needs to stay for the animals and all that. And then he takes the dog and he goes down to see Colm's house, and it's still somewhat standing. Like, it's got a lot of burn to it. But Colm got out.
Yep.
I don't know if he went out the front door or if he climbed out like one of the holes or something like that, but he got out.
I mean, to be fair, the way that he set the fire in the first place,
Yeah.
like Colm could have sat there for a while and then been like, huh. And then just gotten up and calmly walked out the back door. Like he
Yeah.
did not have to superhero his way out of the house.
Yeah. But then they meet on the beach looking at the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of this, as we said before, Miss McCormick shows up with the little fishing pole stick thing in hand.
Did you just say little? It's like a spear. It is a good size stick.
It's like one of those that has a hook on the end that people use to like grab at like nets and stuff like that to pull them in. And what?
I don't know about fishing. Not like that type of fishing.
But
I assume they stab fish with them.
yeah, so Ms. McCormick shows up. She takes a half-charged chair that was outside of the house and flips it up, sits down, and just watches as Colm and Podrick have their final sort of discussion here. Colm is talking about how I can't remember if it's that things have been quiet over on the mainland, so and that they've been talking this whole movie about how they hear the war is coming to an end.
Yeah.
So
and you do get a glimpse of it early on.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe the first scene or two that Podrick looks out and you see like the flashes of gunfire and fighting and you can hear it.
Yeah, and then there's another scene when the sister is returning the finger for the first time. She stops because she hears a big cannon fire.
Yeah.
Coming from the mainland on the thing, and it's very well timed in sort of the first volley of this battle between these two, I suppose. But here, Colm is talking about how everything's coming to an end soon, and then he's like, "Okay, you burnt my house, so everything's square between us now, right?" And Podrick's like, "No, no. It would have been square if you'd stayed in the house."
Yep.
So we have a blood feud now, you and I. We're never going to. It's never going to be settled. It's going to go generation after generation. And this is where really that sort of parallel of the Irish.
Yep. This is the one time where I got it.
Yeah.
The idea of we are going to fight until the end of days.
Yeah.
Over this.
Which I mean, the little bit that I do know about Irish history, like this stuff is still like seeping in society. Like I think of
the IRA is immediately what I think of.
Yeah, they even name drop the IRA in this movie.
Yeah,
but I think of those wars that were happening 70s, 80s. In the Name of the Father is a very good movie that sort of depicts a portion of that situation. Stars Daniel Day-Lewis and Pete Postlethwaite.
It's a weird name.
It's the hunter dude from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I knew who he is. You don't hear his name very often.
Yeah. But In the Name of the Father is very good. It's from the 90s. It's still going today, even in like the 90s when they had the the peace accords that Clinton helped negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of get where the allegory is going for this movie in terms of that with the Irish division, the Irish Civil War, and just everything that goes on after that through, like I said, the little that I know of Irish history going through that.
There is still a bit of nicety at the end, though, when Colm thanks him for taking care of the dog.
Yeah, that's very nice, is that you have that little moment of thank you for taking care of my dog tonight so well. And she's like, of course.
Colin Farrell's like, yep, absolutely. You're dead to me. Cool.
Of course. I don't have a problem with the dog.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, and then that's the
movie. That's where it ends. So, it ends, like you said, I think, with Miss McCormick just sort of overlooking everything.
Yeah.
The banshee that she is.
The Banshee of Inisherin.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
So, yeah, I do still like this movie. Like I said, I think my feeling has soured on it just a touch between first and second viewings. Obviously, I think everybody's kind of gathered that.
You know what's funny is, as we talked about it, I have remembered a lot of the parts I did like, and I'm like, you know what?
Maybe this wasn't quite as bad as I remember.
No, it's every bit as bad. I just liked the stuff I liked more than I thought I did.
That's fair.
Because it really is one of those things in context. I was just so about multiple parts of it that I don't know how much I really enjoy. Yeah. I think after the first maybe 20 minutes of this movie, I laughed maybe twice.
Yeah.
Like, there were moments where I could, like, what was said was funny, but I did not feel like laughing.
Yeah. I'll definitely give you that, in that, like, the first 10, 20 minutes of it where they're setting up everything going on between Colm and Podrick is very funny, especially the interactions with, like, the barkeeper and the patrons that are always like, well, what's going on? Are you rowing?
Yeah.
But
I literally think once they have their first discussion, maybe their second discussion, once I saw the naked dude is when I was like, all right, I'm not enjoying this. But I remember laughing at the milk cart thing because that was too funny not to laugh.
Yeah.
And then I think I did laugh when he threw his first finger at the door.
Yeah.
Because again,
it's just an absurd.
It's hard not to. Yeah. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, then after that, I'm just like, there are a lot of moments where I'm like, they are saying stuff funny, and they are saying it in a comedic way. But I'm not.
Hidden,
yeah, I'm not laughing, and I am that person who obnoxiously laughs in movies.
Yeah.
I will admit that I like to laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you've laughed in some movies when it was inappropriate to laugh.
I know.
Too.
I'm bad about it. I'm also really bad about seeing scary movies.
Yeah.
I do not scream. I laugh. Yeah. So I've done like haunted trails and stuff, and I remember having a dude at a haunted trail that was working there being like, "You scared me," because we could hear you coming around the side, and you were cackling like a madman. He was like, "I thought you worked here." It's like, nope, I'm just having a great time.
Yeah, I always say it, there's a fine line between comedy and horror. Like,
yeah.
They are like bedfellows with they're basically cousins.
Yeah.
Like, they play on the same aspects of the brain.
Yeah.
Bring effect to them. It's just a matter of which way are you going. And sometimes the only appropriate way to respond to something is to laugh.
Yeah. I'm always that guy that laughs at the worst. The honest to God, the worst one I remember was in, I think, the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, is where they go in there in the cave and they break like the stalagmite piece, and it falls and like harpoons the dude. Dead silent in this packed theater. I'm laughing my ass off. Which also, fuck everyone in that theater. You were there too. That shit's funny. Like, it's just boom.
Like
it's so sudden.
I feel like I probably chuckled at it or something.
Dude, I remember Morgan looking at me and being like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "That shit was funny. What's wrong with you people?"
Yeah, these movies are not like serious drama. They're Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah, but it's whatever. But, yeah, this movie, if you haven't seen it, I definitely think you should watch it. Yeah. I am clearly in the minority of the opinion of people when it comes to this movie. So many people like this movie. It's very highly rated. Got a lot of Oscar nominations. It's got, again, a very talented cast, talented people. This movie is not well made at all. It is a very well made movie. It just wasn't for me.
It's absolutely beautifully shot too. Like, that's one of the things I clock with this movie is, like, Ireland itself is already like a very pretty location.
Yeah.
The way that they shoot the island in this is very, like, stunning.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels in some ways like the way that Peter Jackson shot New Zealand when it came to, like, the Lord of the Rings films. Just how stunning some of the vistas were.
I cannot put into words how much I disagree. I think the shots are good. New Zealand, just those giant sweeping shots. You can't do it here. This island's the size of a shoebox.
I agree that it's not on the same level, but to me it kind of reminds me of that manner. obviously very much a love of Ireland going
Yeah.
on in the way that it's shot.
Dude, I will say also all of the costumes, all of the set pieces and props, the houses, all of it is very spot on.
Yeah.
Like it's so consistent throughout.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you have not as much in movies, I see it a lot because of stuff I do in theater.
Yeah.
Where you see someone that tries to do something from a certain era or a certain look and they don't nail it.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of times I see people where they just give up. Like I went and saw a Shakespeare play and they did it with a modern twist, which is weird because when they first came out, they were all in like period accurate clothing.
Yeah.
And then it slowly degraded where, oh, this guy's wearing an Adidas shirt now. Oh, they're wearing a Gorillaz t-shirt. Oh, they're wearing fuzzy slippers. And it just got weird. There were some characters that be half and half. Like one guy was wearing a t-shirt and a kilt for like most of Macbeth.
So my question now becomes: was that a purposeful choice, or was it just that they did not have budget?
I don't know. I will say it only bothered me once when the people came out in like the fuzzy slippers and the gorilla shirt. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Like it just makes me think of that Romeo plus Juliet movie from the '90s that Leonardo DiCaprio.
Hand me my sword, shotgun. You know it, and the version I saw was also shortened, but it wasn't like abridged.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was literally when the first guy came out with a T-shirt that had I think it was maybe like a Nike check on it. Immediately, I'm like, ooh, I feel like I'm not supposed to be seeing that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you probably should have just had a solid color thing and been done with it. And then like the next scene, someone had clothing that was like, oh, they're wearing leggings. This is getting weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and it pretty much stayed like that the whole time. But yeah, you know, this movie, I think they did a really good job with being very period accurate throughout. Again, I think it's a well-made movie. It just
does not hit for you story-wise.
Was not my cup of tea.
I get it, and like I said earlier, this movie is not going to be for everybody. I am genuinely shocked it was not for you. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'll revisit this one at some point in time and love it, or maybe hate it more.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's no way to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. There are definitely some issues tonally that don't quite gel.
Yeah.
That great, which I agree with you on. But yeah, filmmaking wise, costuming, the acting is very good in it too. Like with it, what everyone's given, everybody's performance is very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Right.
So I thought about it when you said the word gel, because there's a great series of lines from a movie. We also talked a little bit about the blending of comedy and horror. We are going to do The Menu. If you have not seen this movie, please go watch this movie. The Menu, you know, we are going to polar opposites for me, where this movie I wasn't crazy about. The Menu I am a little obsessed with. It is one of the most enjoyable experiences I have ever had watching a movie.
Well, between your love of horror and between your love of like cooking and food and everything,
and comedy, and a lot of the cast, this
thing's right up your alley.
It's so good. Oh, I love this movie so much.
So that about wraps up the conversation here about the Banshees of Inisherin.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know in the comments if you enjoy this movie, if you agree with Bradley and you kind of find it a little tonally.
Please, if you agree with me, please comment. I don't want to be alone in this fight, please.
You aren't alone, I can tell you that right now.
I need assistance.
But yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm Bradley.
And I'm Brendan.
And this has been Story Proof.